If you've ever stared at your phone, wondering if today would finally be the day your avoidant reached out, this video is for you, because every person who's been left by an avoidant eventually asks the same questions. Will I ever hear from them again? If they do come back, what will they say? And if they finally text me, should I reply? Well, one of my subscribers found herself in exactly that situation. She finally got the message she'd been waiting for. Let's take a look at what happened. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name is Lucia. I'm a dating and relationship expert specializing in helping you get your ex back or to get over your ex. And if you're not new, you're part of my beautiful no-contact army. Welcome back. Okay, so she starts by saying, my avoidant situationship ex messaged me again today with a low-effort happy birthday breadcrumb after he ended things with me. So I know exactly what many of you are thinking. Lucia, I'd love to get a text like that from my avoidant. Yeah, I know. When you've been missing someone, wondering if they're ever going to reach out, even with something as simple as happy birthday, feels significant. But before we decide whether this message means anything, let's first understand the relationship, because context is everything. She continues, I wanted to share my story because your videos really helped me understand what happened. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. I always appreciate hearing from people after everything has played out, because not only does it help me, but it also helps everyone watching realize that they're not alone in what they're going through. We met on a dating app and the chemistry was definitely there. We dated for about 5 months. He introduced me to his family very quickly. We celebrated birthdays together, holidays, and I attended many family gatherings. Now, I know that when you see that, you think, wow, the situation is becoming serious. Well, here's the thing. For some people, introducing a romantic interest to family is really not a big deal. So I wouldn't get too excited about meeting someone's family. It can mean that things are moving along, or they're just someone who has their family meet everyone that they've dated for a few months. And in fact, a few years ago, one of my clients, she was about to meet the family of a guy she was dating for a few months. I'm like, you know what? Don't. It's too soon. And guess what? They're now married. Okay, so don't confuse early enthusiasm with long-term commitment, because some people come on very strong in the beginning. They're excited, affectionate, include you in everything. But what predicts the future of a relationship isn't how intensely someone starts. It's how consistently they continue. Things were going really well at first. Again, that's another sentence I hear all the time, because relationships with avoidance often start with a lot of excitement. You spend a lot of time together, you laugh, you feel connected, you think, this person's different. Everything seems to flow naturally. And then, wah, wah, something begins to change. And if you're listening to this and you're asking yourself, does Lucia offer one-on-one coaching? Why, yes, I do. And you can check out the rates, or actually, no, you have to ask for the rates at theartoflove.net/coaching, and we will send them to you because they are not on the website. And that link is underneath every single video and podcast. Okay, as time went on, he started texting me less and less. He'd spend time with me, but something felt different. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I could feel him pulling away. And this is one of the most confusing stages of dating an avoidant, because nothing has officially changed. They haven't broken up with you. They're seeing you, they're texting you, but your gut tells you that something is different. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make at this stage is talking themselves out of what they're seeing and feeling. They think, oh, maybe he's just stressed, or maybe work's been busy, maybe I'm overthinking this. And sometimes those things are true, but if someone's behavior changes consistently over time, don't ignore it, because behavior is communication. I eventually noticed that he was still active on dating apps. When I asked him about it, he assured me that I was the only one he was interested in. Well, then why is he on a dating app? Because he's keeping his options open, okay? She continues, I wanted to believe him, so I stayed. No. When people say that, and they say that all the time, I wanted to believe her, wanted to believe him, so I stayed. What you're really saying is, I wanted to stay, so I chose to believe him, even though I knew he was probably not telling the truth. That's what you're actually saying. You wanted to stay, so you figured out a way to stay. You made an excuse. And people ignore red flags, not because they didn't see them, because they desperately want the relationship to work. So she goes on. Eventually, he began belittling me. Ew. He would make comments that chipped away at my confidence. So this is where the relationship crossed the line, because up until now, we've been talking about avoidant behavior, pulling away, mixed signals, emotional distance, but belittling someone is not an attachment style. It's unhealthy behavior. And we do not put up with that now, do we? He eventually told me that maybe we'd be better off as friends. I sent him a long message explaining how I felt. Yeah, don't do that, okay? People don't care about your feelings for them. They care about their feelings for you. And obviously, he was no longer emotionally attached to you if he's able to say, let's just be friends. So explaining your feelings is not going to do anything. And sometimes it just pushes them away. That's why I always warn you against stop it with the long paragraphs. Love isn't usually lost because of a lack of information. It's lost because that person has emotionally disengaged, and no perfectly written text is going to fix that. She continues, I eventually sent one final goodbye. And this is the point where the story completely changes. She stopped chasing, trying to convince him, trying to change his mind. And although it probably didn't feel like it at the time, this is actually one of the healthiest decisions she could have made. I then never contacted him again. Good. So she went into no contact. And if you're in no contact and need help staying there, you can download my free app Silencio, and that is available in the App Store and in Google Play, and the link is underneath every single video and podcast, as is the link to my book, No Contact Secrets, where you can read 2 free chapters before you purchase the book. She continues, a few months later, I found your channel. I started learning about attachment styles, especially avoidant attachment, and so much of what happened finally made sense. I still loved him for a long time. There were many days I wanted to reach out, but I didn't. Well, thank God. And thank me. Haha. Instead, I focused on myself. Now, notice she doesn't say the next day I felt great or I forgot all about him. She says she still loved him, still thought about him, and still wanted to reach out. So healing doesn't mean you stop loving someone overnight. It means that you stop allowing those feelings to control your decisions. Eventually, I met someone else. Good. He's incredibly handsome, has an amazing career, communicates openly, and whenever I'm sick, he brings me homemade soup. What? What's his number? So think about the difference. In her previous relationship, she was constantly wondering where she stood. She was questioning herself. She was getting belittled. She was analyzing text. She was trying to figure out why he was pulling away. And now she's describing someone who simply shows up. What? No mixed messages, no guessing, no wondering, just consistencies. And that's one of the biggest differences between a healthy relationship and an unhealthy one. Healthy relationships feel calmer. And sometimes people mistake calm for boring because they're so used to emotional highs and lows. But calm is actually what emotional security feels like. She continues, then today I received a text from my avoidant ex. Happy birthday. And that's when I realized something. The text I'd spent so long hoping I'd receive didn't make me feel anything anymore. So did you catch that? The message she wanted for so long finally arrived, and it no longer had the power she thought it would. Not because he had changed, but because she had changed. For anyone wondering, no, I won't be responding. Not because I hate him, not because I want revenge, but because I finally found someone who gives me everything I spent so long wishing he would. I love it. She's not trying to punish him or teach him a lesson or make him chase. She's protecting the life she built. And those are 2 completely different mindsets. And I also want to point something else out. I know that some of you are probably wondering, well, why did he text after all this time? The truth is, we don't know. Maybe he was curious or nostalgic or lonely or actually wondered how she was doing. The point is, it doesn't matter. By the time he reached out, she no longer needed the answer. She wasn't sitting there thinking, does he love me? Does he miss me? Why now? She built a life that no longer depended on those answers. And that is freedom. And ironically, that's where I hope that every single one of you gets to someday. Now, does that mean your avoidant will always come back? No, absolutely not. Some do, some don't. And I never want to give people false hope. But here's what I do know. Whether they come back or not, your job is still the same. Heal, grow, build a life you're excited to wake up to, because if they do reach out one day, you'll be able to make your decision from a place of strength instead of longing. And if they never do, you'll still have created a life you love. And that's a win either way. So now I want to hear from you. Do you have any questions or comments about anything I've said? And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos and podcasts. And in the meantime, remember, love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.